Hey guys, it's Xander here, and welcome to the first episode of Deck Doctor. So this list was submitted by the one, the only Desolatormagic. It's a mono blue deck. Kind of has a lot of artifacts energy, has quite a bit of flying, but doesn't really seem to focus too much on either of one thing. I'll just touch over the basic list, and then we'll swap from this list to what the changes are. So we've got a 4 of Skilled Animator, which is for 3, 2 and a blue. It's a 1/3 human artificer with when it enters the battlefield, target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 5/5 as long as Skilled Animator remains on the battlefield. So it's 1/3, it's pretty resilient. It dies to a few different things, dies a whole lot of black removal. But overall, it's not a bad card, especially if you can play some lower stuff on the curve, some dirt cheap artifacts, then being able to have a 1/3 body and a 5/5 is just going to be good. A 3 of Night Veil Sprite, which is for 2, 1 and a blue. It's a 1/2 Fairy Rogue with flying, and whenever it attacks, you surveil 1. This pops up a lot in the mono blue tempo, and it's just a great card. It's a bit of card selection off the top. It's flying, so it's got the evasion there, and it's a fairly cheap body for what it is. A 2 of Tempest Djinn. Tempest Djinn's insanely good, and when we touch over the lands here real quick, he's just running 22 islands, so Tempest Djinn is more likely than not going to be swinging as a 4/4 the turn that it's able to attack, but only in a 2 of. I think in the thing he said that he was limited by the cards that he had. I'm assuming he's got more, so when I do the changes, we'll get to see what I did with it there. 2 of Sky Scanner. I love Sky Scanner. I think it's a great card. So it's for 3 colorless. It's a 1/1 Thopter. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. So it's a 1/1 flying body, it's artifact synergy, and you draw a card off it. So if we can play this on turn 3 and then the turn after play Skilled Animator, it can make the Sky Scanner a 5/5 flyer, which is insanely good. A 2 of Wall of Mist, which is just for 2, 1 and a blue. It's a 0/5 wall with Defender. Just a big dumb body that doesn't die to a whole lot and just sits there blocking for days. Zahid Djinn of the Lamp, which is for 6, so 4 and 2 blue. It's a 5/6 legendary creature Djinn, but you may pay 4, so 3 and a blue, and tap an untapped artifact you control rather than play this spell's cost. And it's also a flyer. So it's a massive body. If you can play this for 4, it's going to be insane. It's just an absolute game-winning card if you can get it out. But again, there's not a huge amount of artifact synergy in the deck. There's not a lot of artifacts to synergize with this. But yeah, Psy Master Thopterist is one of my favorite cards that's in standard at the moment. It's for 3, 2 and a blue. It's a 1/4 legendary creature human artificer with whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. It's also got 2, so 1 and a blue. Sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card. So we haven't got a huge amount in the base list here. There's not a huge amount of artifacts to actually cast. Falls off in terms of how useful it really is. Like, you can't really abuse it in this deck at the moment. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways to fix that. Aviation Pioneer is for a bit of draft chaff, really. It's for 3, 2 and a blue. It's a 1/2 human artificer with whenever Aviation Pioneer enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. So at 3 mana, it's a 1/2 and a 1/1 flyer, which isn't terrible, but it's obviously not the most competitive thing. A 4 of Selective Snare. Desolator is obviously a big fan of this card. I'm a big fan of this card. I think it's freaking cool. So it's at sorcery speed X and 1. Return X target creatures of the creature type of your choice to their owner's hands. So if they're playing a lot of tribal stuff, you've got merfolk, you've got goblins, you've got elves, you've got dinosaurs, vampires, knights, all of these things. Just being able to return multiple things back to someone's hand can just be game-breaking, so it's an insanely good card. It's got a lot of value to it. A 4 of Sinister Sabotage. This is just the counter spell in the deck. So it's for 3, 1 and 2 blue. At instant speed, you counter target spell, and then you can surveil 1, so it's a bit of selection off the top as well. A 3 of Radical Idea, which is for 2, 1 and a blue. At instant speed, you draw a card. It's also got Jumpstart, so you can flashback it. Essentially flashback it. A 2 of Tezzeret Artifice Master, which is for 3 and 2 blue, so 5 cost. It's a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. With +1, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. For 0, you draw a card, but if you have 3 or more artifacts, you draw 2 cards. Or its neg 9 ability is you get an emblem with at the beginning of your end step, search your library for a permanent card and put that card onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. The creating bodies as soon as it comes out is really relevant for a lot of matchups. It just being able to give itself kind of protection is insanely good. It's just a great Planeswalker. 2 of Silent Dart, which is a cheap-ass artifact for 1. It's 4 tap, sacrifice Silent Dart. It deals 3 damage to target creature. A single copy of Quasi Duplicate, which is for 3, 2, and a blue. At sorcery speed, you create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. It also has Jumpstart, so you can pseudo flashback it. A single copy of Gleaming Barrier, which is for 2. It's a 0/4 wall with Defender, but when it dies, you also create a treasure token. A single copy of River's Rebuke, which is for 6, so 4 and 2 blue. At sorcery speed, you return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hands. This is an insanely good card in the right situation. A lot of the times you'll see it in sideboards more than anything, but I guess it's just a good card that he had to fill out the deck. A single Is It Locket, which is for 3, tap for blue or red, or pay 4 hybrid, any combination of blue or red, to tap, sack it, and draw 2 cards. A Sigiled Sword of Valoran, which is for 3. It's equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance, and it's a knight in addition to its other types. And whenever a equipped creature attacks, you create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance that's attacking. So just a bit of creature generation, and it's not more artifacts energy, but again, not really here or there. A single copy of Fountain of Renewal, which is for 1. That's an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life. Pay 3, sacrifice it, draw a card. That's a card personally that I like. A single copy of Shield of the Realm, which is for 2. It's an equipment that sits on the battlefield, and it's if a source would deal damage to equipped creature, prevent 2 of that damage, 1 to equip. Looking at the deck, there's quite a lot of just chaff, draft stuff. He's obviously just made this with whatever cards he had put together. I can see a lot of potential going in a couple of different ways, and we're going to touch over those in just a second. But yeah, the deck's a bit of a train wreck, and we're going to see what we can do with it. Looking back at the original list, it kind of wanted to pull itself apart in terms of which direction it wanted to go. So it was trying to go for the artifact synergy, but it was trying to focus on more of a like flying tempo style. I've kind of just split it into 2 separate versions that the deck could have gone into. So this is the artifact mono blue deck, and then I'll touch over the other one in a second. So this has the 4 of Skilled Animator as the last deck did. We're now running a 4 of Sire Masterthopterus because he is insanely good. We're also running a lot more artifacts in this version so that we can abuse him a whole lot more. A 4 of Skyscanner because of the synergies with his draw card, his artifact, and he can be turned into a 5/5 flyer. It's just great value. Looking at Zahid in the artifact deck, I like this in a 2 of. It's something that you want to be seeing quite a bit, but something that we probably want to be trying to ramp into a little bit. Bumping it up to a 2 of Fountain of Renewal. The incremental life gain is awesome. It's a cheap-ass artifact, and it's a little bit of draw card if we need it. Also on the draw card side of things, we have a Sage of Latinam, which is for 2, 1, and a blue. It's a 1/2 human artificer with tap, sacrifice an artifact, draw a card. A 4 of Power Stone Shard, artifact synergy, you can turn it into a 5/5, and it's ramp when you need it. It's just great. Also running a 4 of Treasure Map, artifact synergy, filters off the top, creates more artifacts, a freaking awesome card. Choose up a few of your rare slots, but I love this card, especially in control decks, and it's great in these artifact synergy decks. Instead of running the cheap artifact that pings for a couple of damage, we're running a 4 of Blood Tallow Candle, which is for 1. It's got 6 taps, sacrifice it to give target creature -5/-5 until end of turn. -5 gets around indestructible, kills Lyras, it kills most of the stuff in the format at the moment, whereas the other thing pinging for a couple of damage doesn't really do it. More often than not going to be able to hit the 6 mana earlier because we've got the Power Stone Shards and the Treasure Maps, so it's not something that's just out of control able to get to. And again, it's another cheap artifact that we can surely get down before we can play a Skilled Animator to make it into a 5/5, so it's just great. Keeping with the 3 of Sinister Sabotage, great counterspell, bit of filtering off the top. The 3 of Radical Idea is great, and the 2 of Tezzeret sticks with the theme for the artifact synergy, and we're actually more likely to be drawing 2 cards off this the way the deck is at the moment. Again, we're running 22 islands. You could be running the, I think it's called Memorial to Genius, the blue land that comes in tapped, and it's got 5 tap, sack, draw 2 cards. Fairly draft card that you could be playing that could draw you more cards potentially. And I've also just tweaked it to have a little bit of a sideboard here. See the River's Rebuke again in the sideboard, but we're also running another one because of the ramp that we've got in the deck. It's more likely we're going to be able to get to that 6 mana early, and then it's just complete blowout on their side. The Selective Snare just falls into the sideboard here. It's not something we want to have in the main board, but it's still something that we definitely want to have. For a bit more artifact synergy and great answers to Planeswalkers, we're running a 3 of Sorcerer's Spyglass. And adding to the counter spells, we've got a 3 of Negate and a 3 of Essence Scatter. So counter target creature or counter target non-creature spell. That is the artifact deck, and now we're going to touch on the tempo deck. This is one that Desolator is probably going to appreciate a little bit more. It's a bit on the tempo side, but it's a copycat deck. We are running a 4 of Tempest Djinn in this deck. It's just too good not to be running in a 4 of when you're running so many islands. Being able to smash in with something that gets incrementally large is just great. Bumping it up to a 4 of Night Veil Sprite. Again, it's the flying synergy, so just more and more evasion. Aviation Pioneer, bumping it up to a 2 of. It's 2 bodies for at the price of 1, so it's not bad, it's just a bit meh. Keeping in the Wall of Mist just for the early answers to aggro. The 2 of Tezzeret for more flying synergy and eventually draw a card. A couple of copies of Entrancing Melody to gain control of something of theirs. The River's Rebuke, this is in the main board because we're trying to kind of stall out the game a little bit, and by the time it gets to the turn 6 that we can play this, we just play it, bounce all their stuff back, they lose out on a whole heap of tempo, and then we just kind of stomp through with the game. One of his favorite cards, which is the Metamorphic Alteration. So it enters the battlefield, and then you choose a creature, and the enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. So this is going to be able to turn our Aviation Pioneers or our Wall of Mists into more Tempest Djinns. We're also running a 4 of the Quasi-Duplicate in this version, just creating more Tempest Djinns, more Night Veil Sprites, or more Aviation Pioneers, just generating more value. Being able to pseudo flashback it with Jumpstart is great. Bumping that up to a 4 of Radical Idea for more draw card. More counterspell magic with Sinister Sabotages. Keep the selective snares in there for the anti-tempo. And this is running 22 islands as well. I think the 22's okay. We've got enough draw card in here that we're fairly reliably going to be getting our lands. Just touching over the mock-up sideboard here, you could be running Dive Downs is a good answer. It's essentially a counterspell to a lot of stuff. I like Blink of an Eye personally, so that's a 4 of in the sideboard here for me. A 3 of Merfolk Trickster for combat tricks. A couple of copies of Essence Scatter, negates to counter non-creature spells. Again, a 3 of Sorcerer's Spyglass just to answer Planeswalkers. And that is my couple of improved versions of the original list that Desolatormagic sent in. Obviously, I could make these decks better. I just don't want to be copy and pasting top 8 decks because he sends a blue deck in. I could just go, just don't be an idiot and play mono blue tempo. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to keep the bones of a deck and work with what that is. This one kind of throws a whole lot of stuff out, but it was more of a gag at Desolator to be able to throw in Metamorphics and a 4 of Quasi. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the decks. Let me know if this is something you want to keep seeing more of. If you have a list that you want to submit to the Deck Doctor series, post it under the Deck Doctor announcement in the comments, or send it directly to me. It will go in line to keep getting added to this series. If you liked the video, didn't like the video, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Or you can go check me out on Patreon that I've just signed up for. It's patreon.com/ZandersQuest. As always, keep questing, guys. I'll see you in the next video.